Did you know? Innistrad is considered one of Magic's greatest sets, from its success in draft, to its impact on constructed formats, and even its influence on top-down design. Innistrad has been beloved since its release in September 2011. Leading up to its release, Innistrad was introduced by way of an alternate reality game, in which bits of story were leaked in the form of various letters, journal entries, and other in-world correspondences. This idea was mostly inspired by classic Gothic horror novels, such as Frankenstein, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Dracula. The creator of Magic the Gathering, Richard Garfield, seldomly gets his hands involved in designing new sets, but for Innistrad, he joined the team. Not only was the set partially designed by the creator of Magic, but the lead designer was none other than Mark Rosewater, Magic's most prolific designer. It was lead developed by Eric Lauer, who was the main proponent to Innistrad's success in draft. Innistrad, as a standalone draft set, has arguably been considered to be the best draft format of all time. As a set primarily focused around horror and its many tropes, Innistrad's art direction followed a more traditional style. Romanticism, historical reference to the 1700s, and Gothic horror themes were teeming throughout the entire set. Not only did the set follow a more traditional style, but their perspective was also different. In the article Creating the Art of Innistrad, art director Jeremy Jarvis said, "This set should feel like a horror movie you are actually in. It's you that walks around the corner and sees a vampire pounce on your neighbor. It's you that pulls back the curtain and sees something terrible outside the window. We were flies on the walls watching things unfold, but not so in Innistrad." The majority of cards depicted art in a first-person point of view. A good example of this is Village Cannibals, where it's you on the dinner menu. This was subtle, but well received as the style was very different from any prior set and made the horror theme even more on point. The art wasn't completely flawless, however. There was a major error on one of the set's most iconic vampires. On the legendary card Olivia Voldaren, you will notice a bulge coming from underneath her dress. Some say it's her knee, but at the bottom of her dress is both of her feet. The returning mechanic for Innistrad was Flashback, a powerful and popular mechanic originally introduced in Odyssey. The set features 29 cards with a mechanic, just one short of the 30 found in the Odyssey set. Innistrad introduced the enemy color check lands. This 5-card cycle of dual lands got their name from their enter the battlefield requirement. It checks if the player controls a land with a basic land type that corresponds to either color the land can produce. If this condition is not met, they enter the battlefield tapped. Until Pro Tour Dark Ascension, Pro Tours were not named for their corresponding set. In Philadelphia in September 2011, the first modern Pro Tour coincided with Innistrad's preview period. At that event, they previewed one of the most iconic cards of the set, Snapcaster Mage. The last invitational card ever made, featuring the likeness of Tiago Chan. The rare is the last of its kind, and with such a powerful effect, playable at instant speed and at a low cost, it is now a staple of Eternal formats. Another incredibly powerful card from the set is Liliana of the Veil. The second iteration of Liliana Vess, she quickly became recognized as one of the most powerful planeswalkers ever made. Liliana of the Veil has seen constant play in Modern and Legacy since her debut, with no signs of slowing down. Innistrad featured a tribal theme based on its horror roots. The 5 tribes were spirits, humans, werewolves, vampires, and zombies. Innistrad was not as tribal-centered as Lorwynblock, but there were plenty of lords and effects that benefited from having one of the 5 major creature types in your deck. Magic R&D borrowed a mechanic from another game their company makes called Duel Masters to show the transformation of werewolves and other horror tropes, the mechanic being double-faced cards. Before Innistrad was released, the public deemed the new mechanic a game killer. In Mark Rosewater's famous article 20 Things That Were Going to Kill Magic, he said they, being double-faced cards, required sleeves or a checklist card. They messed up draft. They made players have to de-sleeve and then flip them over. Every flaw was pointed out time and time again. Despite that, though, they went on to be the highest-ranked mechanical component in Innistrad and Dark Ascension. There was even a large outcry when the last set in the block, Avacyn Restored, didn't have any. Not only was the double-face mechanic used on werewolves, it featured other cards that represented several classic horror tropes, like the Fly, Jekyll and Hyde, and Frankenstein's monster. The third iteration of Garruk was the first Planeswalker to not only feature 5 loyalty abilities, but was also the first double-faced Planeswalker. Garruk Relentless on the front side and Garruk the Veil Cursed on the back side, he wasn't the first choice to be featured this way. Initially, lead designer Mark Rosewater wanted the double-faced Planeswalker to be a werewolf, but several members on the team pointed out that there was already a Planeswalker going through a transformation of sorts. This Planeswalker was Garruk, and so the double-faced version of him was born. Subscribe now to Gathering Magic for more Did You Know videos, as well as deck techs, Magic Online strategy videos, and more.